Thank you. Roll call.
Mr. Haas?
Here.
Ms. Haupt?
Here.
Mr. Kelleher?
Here.
Mr. Perry?
Here.
Ms. Sedman?
Here.
Present.
Schneed? Mr. Urban? Mr. Urban? Hello?
Mr. Irvin just called in, so he's there somewhere.
Mr. Urban?
Okay.
Mr. Vogt?
Here.
Ms. Wakis? Present. Mr. McGinley?
Present.
Down here, Sharon.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, all present.
All present. Thank you. We do have one proclamation in regards to the Eagle Scout, Kevin Daniel McCaffrey. Unfortunately, Kevin was not able to be with us this evening, so we will be sending the proclamation out to Kevin to recognize his achievement as an Eagle Scout in Luzerne County. Moving down to additions or deletions from the voting session agenda. Hearing none, do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Snee and Ms. Saban, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any abstentions, any in opposition? None heard, motion carries. Public comment? And then we'll do the executive session. Public comment? Anyone in the public who would like to address the council at this time? We don't have any slips from anyone, right?
No.
Seeing none or seeing no one, okay, we're moving on. In regards to the executive session, Ms. Craig?
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, prior to tonight's meeting called to order, council held an executive session regarding personnel matters. Just to be clear, it was not related to the council vacancy that is on the agenda this evening. So it was unrelated personnel matters. And the council vacancy was not discussed out of the eye of the public.
Thank you. This evening, Manager Pedri has the responsibility to provide the State of the County report. Manager Pedri?
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I can only think that there was no public comment because people were just dying to get to this part. So
They might have
that has
been-
to be it, right?
They might have been dying for some reason.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, as per the charter, it's my honor and privilege to provide to you tonight's State of the County report. You'll see the State of the County report was posted on February 12, 2019. It will be posted on our website tomorrow, along with our other State of the Counties that I have completed during my time as county manager. Last year I said that the county is in a state of consistent improvement. That consistent improvement has continued. But our improvements this year are different. Our improvements this year are pronounced and noticeable. They are something that you can see. Ladies and gentlemen, these are improvements that's not just me saying it. It's something you can actually see and feel here in Luzerne County. And we'll move to some of our major accomplishments that we've received since 2018. The first would be that we've achieved the first positive fund balance in over a decade. 2014's high point of $16.9 million deficit has turned into a $694,000 surplus. Through the hard work of this county council and through management's concerns regarding the budgetary follow-through, we have turned that $16.9 million deficit into a positive. We have turned the corner from the red to the black here in Luzerne County. That is a huge accomplishment, something we should always be proud of. A lot of that was based upon the refinancings that were completed in 2015 and 2017. And also, as we move forward, our continual budgetary process. Second thing is we eliminated employee prepayment of salaries. This is something that we talked about for years. All county employees are now on one payroll. Believe it or not, there were 6 separate payrolls here in the county, causing an incredible amount of information and some very, very difficult decisions that had to be completed by our payroll clerks every single time. But now all county employees are no longer prepaid. They're on one payroll. We have the beautiful Luzerne County website, which is completed. A huge undertaking by our T department. I have to give it to Dan Reese and Dave Skronsky in mapping, who compiled for us a list of all Luzerne County owned properties. Ladies and gentlemen, believe it or not, as I've said before here in the past, we did not have a list of all the properties that we had here in Luzerne County. Now we have a list of every single property that we own, over 400 pieces of property, and we're going to work on those properties in 2019 with our real estate committee in order to do these good things. We've completed our application reviews for the $15 million of community development. Once again, things you can actually see. $15 million for community development. Okay? $15 million comes from the community development. These are things like the Division Street Bridge, the Lake Silkworth Fire Hall. Things, once again, that will have made Luzerne County a better place. We opened up, of course, our records for storage facility. Through the support of this county council, we have now a beautiful, centralized record storage facility that will be here for decades. I can't go too far into 2018 without talking about the ice jams, without talking about the tornado, and without talking about the July flooding that occurred here in Luzerne County. Our emergency management team did a phenomenal job. Our 911 team did a phenomenal job. And to see the sheriffs break into action about what they did at the tornado was truly impressive. Once again, this is what we do every single day in the county. And our teams were ready, they were prepared, and they came through, and we should be very proud of them. Under Lynn Hill, Luzerne County Cares Community Expo was held. The first Luzerne County Community Cares Expo brought together over 600 providers and subscribers to our Human Services division. These individuals got together and they said what we can do together. It's about breaking down our silos. It's about seeing that we can utilize state and federal dollars together. Through Mark Rakovich, with our Director of Corrections, we created a medical-assisted opioid-dependent treatment program for offenders. Ladies and gentlemen, people talk a lot about what we can do for opioids, and we talk a lot about the opioid epidemic, but this is something that we have done. This is something that can create a difference, and Mark Rakovich and his team, and the STOP Coalition that was launched in 2018 needs to be acknowledged for what they've done. Another item that we've completed were our standardized evaluations. We're going to talk a little bit more about HR in a little bit. But for the first time in Luzerne County history in 2017 and 2018, we now have employees going through an evaluation process. I know that doesn't sound like a lot, but we've never done it before. And now we do it every single year. Our sheriff also provided active shooter response to training to all county employees. Security is an amazing, a huge undertaking that has to be done by our sheriff's department. They do a phenomenal job. And these active shooter trainings, while they are concerning, they are necessary. Brian and his team really came through for our county employees there. I'm going to go through a couple other slides as we go forward. I was asked to give an audit update. The county hard close for fiscal year 2018 is February 15th, 2019. The auditors are on site on March 11th of 2019. So that means that we are finally closing the books on 2018 as of February 15th, 2019. Now, we have numerous component audits, as this council is well aware. MHDS, aging, drug and alcohol, these are on the June 30th website, year end. Our on-site work has been completed for those. Zelenkowski and Axelrod is collaborating with other auditors for their verification, and drafts will be provided shortly. As council and the public is well aware, we haven't had any concerns with the MHDS, aging, and drug and alcohol audits, and they're all coming through on time. Another audit that's coming through on time for the first time in a long time is our county children and youth audit. We're in the process of closing fiscal year 2018. Our auditors will be on site for children and youth regarding the first week of March. Items due to Zolkowski Askarod will be on February 28th of 2019. This is a big moment for the county, and I have to give it to Adam Werwitz and his team from Human Services. The county has filed 2 on-time quarterly reports to the state for reimbursement for children and youth for the first time in over a decade. So we are now consistently closing out these years, and that means that the state funding will get to us sooner, and we can help our cash flow situation. 2018 will come through because we have fixed the problems that we had. Now, as everybody in this room is well aware, there were some problems in children and youth in 2017 that was brought up in our audit. $2.3 million specifically is the issue that we're discussing. That $2.3 million has been identified in one specific section by our internal auditor team. That will be confirmed with our outside our outside auditor, Zolkowski Axelrod, and those findings will be available at the end of May in order to clear the $2.3 million from 2017 and have a clear 2018 audit. So we go over to our children, we go over to our county. Now this is the county general fund audit at this point. Baker Tilly, Virchow and Kraus has signed a contract with us. Our major concern with our general fund audit was the $5.3 million that came in as a qualified audit. 5.6 million, excuse me, 5.6 million from a qualified audit from 2017. We have now provided that information back to Baker Tilly. We have been tracking that information back, and we tracked it all the way back to pre-home rule. So in 2011, there was money missing that's due to FRUMS. And then we followed it through in 2012, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, until it became an issue in the 2017 audit. Now, this means that these things have been going on for some time, but at the end of the day, it has to be cleared up. And this also will be cleared up by the end of May of 2019, so that we can have an on-time, unqualified audit. All audit requests are currently met. We are on time and on track for a 2019 audit that's consistent and faces all aspects of what we need to be doing for our audit. The Division of Budget of Financial Services has a couple of numbers that we're going to throw out here. End of 2018, an unaudited conservative number shows us with a $500,000 surplus for 2018. Once again, that's an unaudited number at this point. It's February. I would ask that council holds off on this judgment until the June date when we hear back from our auditors. The debt service is something that every member of the public and every member of this county council should hold up as a huge accomplishment of home rule. In 2012, at the end of 2012, there were $420 million in principal and interest on our debt. In just over 6 years, we have paid off over $140 million of debt, down to $278 million, down to principal and interest. Luzerne County home rule government has made only one borrowing during our 6 years as a government. That one borrowing was for their energy savings contract, which hopefully will pay for itself, and that was the reason why we entered into that contract. In addition to this $140 million, County Council also allocated over $9 million to our pension fund in a double payment to make sure that we are on track and on time with our pension. Our debt service is consistently lowering, and we are set to be out of debt in 2029. I'm going to go through a bunch of these quick. This will be on our website if anybody has any questions. One thing that I wanted to bring up is our Human Resources Department. You'll see that we have had about a 5% vacancy rate. But a couple things that happen now that never happened in the past. When I started in the DA's office in 2004, I was told, here's your desk, here's your files, good luck. There was no evaluation process. There was no onboarding process. There was no orientation process. Under the leadership of Angela Gavlik, we now have a standardized orientation process that provides the necessary information to all new county employees. In addition, we have now standardized evaluations. This is just something that we do now. In addition, we have exit interviews. These are things that happen in business on a daily basis. People in the community may not think that this is that big of a deal, but these things didn't happen before in Luzerne County. And those are positive steps forward. The Division of Correctional Services, we'll go over some numbers here. But the main thing that I wanted to bring out to County Council and to members of the public, and I sat down with Mark Rakovich today, and we reviewed this number. Since he began on that fateful day in July of 2016, a very, very difficult day for all members of the Luzerne County family, since he started in July of 2016 to the present, our population has gone down by an average of 100 inmates a month. That is a huge savings to Luzerne County. That is a safety savings to Luzerne County. That is a huge accomplishment on Director Rakovich's part. Now, he hasn't done this alone, obviously. The Prison Population Task Force has been involved. The courts have been involved. The DA's office, the PD's office, all aspects. But it's under Mark's leadership that we're able to consistently lower that number in our prison to just the number it is today, to just about approximately average about 580 inmates when we were up over 700 just a couple years ago. I'll go through Division of Human Services, records. Our record storage facility, obviously, we're about halfway full, and we have no anticipation of reaching the end of it anytime soon. Okay, we're going to go to what I found is that as long as we get our budget straight, the biggest concern of everybody is our roads and our bridges. Where's Eddie O'Neill? Larry Pledge. And this is obviously something that affects the community every single day. So these are some of our county road and bridge projects that we have. You know, a lot of politicians talk about building bridges. Well, we actually build bridges here in Luzerne County. So all of our county council members can talk about these things when they go out into the community. Here's one in Black Creek Township that was completed. You'll see the before and after pictures. Obviously, it was a complete disaster, and now there's a freestanding bridge that will be safe for county residents for decades to come. Here's one in Union Township that was completed, utilizing Act 89 Bridge Fund. Once again, a before and after picture of what was done in 2018. Finally, this is the Oxford Street Bridge in Hanover Township. This is an extremely busy bridge and was now fixed in order to accommodate the traffic that we need. We also did some paving projects. I know my friend Harry Haas was really concerned about Hillside Road. His constituents in the back mountain, and if you look at those potholes, you'll see it. But now you see the before and after as to what Hillside Road looks like. We're not done yet there, but there's continually work that has to get done. Here's Main Road in Sweet Valley and Main Road after. And so now the question is, what do we do in 2019? The number one road that we have to talk about is Chase Road. Chase Road has been a consistent topic that we came off. The funding will come from the PennDOT TIP. It is a $1.4 million project, and that will be completed in 2019. Foothills Drive in Butler Township will be funded by Liquid Fuels. This is a $1.5 million estimated cost. This road, Foothills Drive, is over 7 miles of road, and it goes from Butler Township on 309 all the way through Conyngham, all the way through Sugarloaf. And we have tentative agreements with all three of those municipalities that those three municipalities will take over the roads once we complete this work. That means that Luzerne County's roads will be lowered by 7 miles, which is a huge accomplishment. And if we continually try to lower that down, we'll be able to fully take care of our projects moving forward. East County is the other half of that road. Our Public Defender's Office has been really moving. And our 5-year plan update. Okay, so there's 66 total initiatives proposed in our 5-year plan that was submitted October 25th, October of 2015. We have now completed 46 of those initiatives. We're just at 69%. We will complete 10 more of those initiatives by the end of 2019, meaning that we will be at 84% at the end of 2019. I would encourage County Council to put money aside in the 2020 budget for the next 5-year plan, 2021 to 2026, in order to follow through. Now, some of these initiatives I doubt will ever be fully accomplished. Of the 66, I don't think we can get to all of them. One of them was appoint a deputy county manager, which, other than Rick Williams, I didn't think he had a lot of support for that, and myself. But so maybe we'll get to 65 of those 5-year plan. So where are we going? 2019. 2019 projects these are our priorities, and this is where we're looking to move in 2019. The first, 911 radio system upgrade. We have to change our software and our hardware for every single car, fire department, EMS in the entire county. This is something that will come to county council once our RFP is completed. We're looking at September of 2019. Two matters that I have to bring up to county council, and this is, we always talk about advocating to the state and to the federal authorities. We currently have $2 million worth of grants for this project out there right now. $1 million worth of grants for the LSA funding from the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, and $1 million firefighter grant from the federal authorities. If you are in contact, and I would encourage members of the public as well as members of county council to reach out to your state legislatures and our congressmen and our senators for support of those two grants. If they can lower our $20 million proposed number or just by $2 million, that would be a huge savings to Luzerne County. In addition, we have to address the new voting machine mandate. That is something that will once again come to county council in September of 2019. There is a demonstration of voting machines of one of the potential vendors on February 28th, February 27th, here at the Rotunda. We encourage the public to take part of that as well as all elected officials. One thing I've asked to do under the administrative services of Dave Parsnick and our Tourism Bureau Chief, Ted Wampel, is a complete review of the 44 complex. The 44 complex for years has been an area of the county, but now we can really truly do something and draw attention to it. We have the airport there that can become a revenue generator for Luzerne County. There are fields there that could become recreational fields for Luzerne County. Through the hard work of Ramilda Crocomo in the solicitor's office, we were able to obtain title to the Air Force building, which can now house county facilities at that location. We already have a magistrate's office there. We already have our veterans office there at 44 as well. The question is, where do we go from there? I would like a 44 complete review to see what that campus could be for residents of Luzerne County going forward. Roads and bridges, we talked about, and here are our revenue generators. 2020 is going to be a tough year. We're looking at the budget. 2020 has already has some budgetary concerns from where we need to be. So we need to find ways to create revenue. Number one, short-term investments. That RFP is currently on the street right now. We have received 7 proposals. County Council approved those short-term investments last year. Number 2, P cards. P cards are a purchasing item. These aren't actual cards, so everybody, they're not actual cards. Okay, they're a purchasing tool utilized by accounts payable that can create 2 to 3% back on every single thing the county purchases. We get 2 to 3 back on $10 million. It's a good amount of money that can come in. Number 3, billboards. Our billboard RFP will be posted tomorrow. So once again, we're taking those pieces of property that our mapping department has located, and we're going to specifically locate billboards on those in hopes that those create funding for Luzerne County. And finally, our sale of excess real estate. We have over 400 pieces of property that the county owns that we are not utilizing at this time. The best use of land is the use of the land. This sale will obviously bring in monies in terms of the sale, but most importantly in my eyes, we'll have consistent tax revenue coming off of those sales. And I think county residents will now be able to purchase pieces of property that were off limits for years. The 4 pillars of county government that you've heard me say them numerous times: financial stability, processes, employee engagement, customer services. These are our 4 goals, 4 heights that we will never truly reach, but items that we are consistently moving forward to. We talked about these improvements, and we talked about how they're consistent and steady. But these improvements are now instilled and embedded in Luzerne County. What we have done in 2018 was not give Luzerne County a fish. We are teaching Luzerne County government to fish. We're teaching him how to move this process forward. This is how we do business now. Short-term investments to create revenue for the county, to take that off of our citizens and their tax burdens, is now how we do business. Evaluations is how we do business. orientations for our employees or how we do business. Merit hiring, something that just a couple of years ago wasn't considered here in Luzerne County, is now just how we do business. We have shown consistent improvement. And at this point, the question is, where do we go next? So thank you very much for your time. And this will be posted on the website tomorrow. And if there are any questions or anything, I will.
Mr. Haas?
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Pedge, for the presentation. I got three quick ones, sure. Speaking of revenue generators, I want to draw my colleagues' attention back to page 6. It's under the Division of Budget and Financial Services. The third bullet point there, the pictometry project.
Sure.
And I remember when that happened, it yielded some higher assessments and therefore some tax revenue for the county. But I had a question from a taxpayer, and he wanted to know with this hugely unpopular stormwater fee that we see across the county. He wanted to know if the authority was using, to what extent they used the results of that pictometry project to assess the fees onto that. I don't know if you or Mr. Swets could answer that.
I could answer that. That's really a question for the sanitary authority, but our maps are not to be utilized for engineering purposes.
Okay.
I think we've provided those maps to the sanitary authority. I don't know to what extent they will utilize. We did provide maps to the sanitary authority.
We just did that pro bono, just to be a good citizen, to give that to
I'm not
them,
sure if we did charge them or we did provide or if we did free service. I don't know for sure. But I know they did receive our maps. But our maps clearly state these are for assessment purposes only, not for engineering purposes.
Okay.
And that's up to William Valley Sanitary Authority for their answer.
Because that would have been an assessment, Billy, because it was based on the square footage of impermeable surfaces. So that
It's
would
actually
be,
I would think it would be an engineering
Okay.
decision because you're talking about the exact location, whether or not you have your neighbors. Assessment isn't exactly your exact location on your property.
Yeah.
Engineering would be this is the exact almost like a survey as to where you want to be doing.
okay. So I don't know if we get some more information about
Yeah.
just what our role was in that whole process and about the
Sure.
pictometry project. So thanks for that. Same page, actually, you said that we made that extra payment to score up the pension outstanding rate. What's the current funding rate we have here for funding for the pensions, Mr. Manager? Remember?
Mr.
Offhand?
Kelleher is a 78%.
Are we at 78?
70s, no,
Oh,
it's lower
wonderful.
than that. But we had just the worst December for income in about 80 years,
Yeah.
followed by the best January in 30 years. So there've been losses all over because of December, but the losses were mitigated because we take, our investment guy, Rich Azori, takes a conservative view of everything we do.
Yeah.
So we're in the 70s.
Okay. I mean, that's good, because I know it was at 84, Mr. Keller, but I know.
But they changed GASB.
That's
Yeah,
why
they
I want to
changed
make
the
sure the
rules.
public was aware of that they changed the structure of
I think
evaluating
78 is a
the-
little high, actually. I want to say 74, but I couldn't tell. Mr. Perry, do we know offhand? I'll find out for you, Mr. Perry.
I thought it was down in the 60s, because it's a pleasant surprise on my part, so that's good. But again, it's a moving target, and it's,
The retirement
Once
board
again,
had a
we'll
work
call them
session
back.
last week.
yeah.
That was discussed, and the retirement board asked that we schedule Mr. Azori to come in and give all council an update, and we will schedule that. So you'll have a night when you'll have an opportunity to speak directly with Mr. Azori.
But I do have tremendous faith in our staff members in the committee there, and also with Mr. Predger's right. I mean, we want to make that a priority and shore up the pension fund, and again, we kicked back a couple notches because
Well, we shored it up, but it's still an ongoing challenge.
Absolutely, absolutely. The last question is, at our blighted property meeting, we talked about the webpage, and, we paid over $100,000 to upgrade our webpage. We would like to see on the committee, and I think that would transcend all our departments, if we could have the vendor help us make that page more interactive, that we could actually submit data virtually there, and that would cut down on paperwork. If we could see them move forward on that,
Sure.
would be helpful too, but we just ran into that roadblock,
Could
because
you-
you still have to print them out and still submit them that way, but we'd like more interaction.
Can we, you just send me an email on that, and I'll send it over to our IT department, Mr. Haas, and I'll get moving on
And
it.
it might just mean that the vendor needs to train our IT department on that or something like
Sure.
that. I don't know what it
No,
is,
we do
but
other things with them.
My 3 points. Otherwise, thank you.
Other questions? Any other member? Okay, thank you, Mr. Pedri. Moving down to new business, we have a motion to approve the minutes of the January 22nd meeting.
So moved.
Mr. Kelleher, Ms. Saban, second. On the question? Mr. Urban, can you hear?
I hear.
Okay. On the question? All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any in opposition?
No.
Mr. Urban in opposition, any abstentions?
I abstain.
Mr. Rhodes abstains. Motion carries. Moving over to agenda items under the county manager. Motion to adopt a resolution extending the lease to the United States government for property located at Route 11, Wyoming Avenue, Wyoming Borough. This was on our work session agenda last we met in January. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Mr. Schnee, do we have a second?
Second.
Mr. Urban? On the question? Roll call, please.
Mr. Haas,
Yes.
Ms. Howe,
Yes.
Mr. Kelleher,
Yes.
Mr. Perry,
Yes.
Ms. Sedman,
Yes.
Mr. Schnee,
Yes.
Mr. Urban,
Yes.
Mr. Vogt,
Yes.
Ms. Wakus.
Yes.
Mr. McGinley.
Yes.
Unanimous.
Unanimous, motion carries. We have a motion to adopt a resolution authorizing the application for redevelopment assistance capital grant, program grant on behalf of the Change Academy Lake of Ozarks. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Mr. Schnee, do we have a second?
Second.
Mr. Perry. Before we go to the question, we have gentlemen here who would like to come to the podium and talk about the application, please. Will you give us your name and who you represent?
My name is Chris Perkins. I'm the Chief Executive Officer for Change Academy at Lake of the Ozarks. We're based in Lake Ozark, Missouri. Came to a place a little bit colder than we were, so.
Yeah. It was a little bit worse last week. so.
Yeah, that's what I heard. We had somebody come out, and we had to cancel that one. So appreciate the opportunity to come before you all and talk about our project. About 2 years ago, we started to look for an opportunity to expand on the East Coast. So we operate in the parent choice or private pay behavioral health care space. We work with adolescents, preteen, and teen. So basically about 9-year-old up until about 18. Clinically specialized with kids who have early childhood trauma. All of our kids are placed in our programs by parents. We do not take any kids who are adjudicated. We do not take kids who are court referred in any way or who have a primary substance abuse diagnosis. Our program in Lake of the Ozarks has been in operation for 11 years. We currently accept students from about 35 different states there. And we've been running at about 100% capacity for the past 4 years. We then decided it's time to expand. 65% of all students placed in private pay behavioral health programs come from Boston to Virginia. And the biggest impediment for us with a lot of families was Missouri was just too far. So we decided at that point to develop some search characteristics of where we wanted to go. And it basically came down to either Pennsylvania or North Carolina for 4 primary reasons. Number one was just geographic proximity to the Northeast Corridor, basically Boston to DC. Number 2 was a favorable regulatory environment, of which Pennsylvania has. We will be licensed by the state of Pennsylvania, Department of Human Services, for this project. Number 3 was a favorable economic climate. In terms of identifying an educated workforce, an area that has a strong work ethic, a place that's favorable to programs like ours. So that was the third piece. And then number 4 had to be someplace that was not in a major metropolitan area, but was not so far away, because a lot of our families may fly in or what have you. So there had to be proximity to services, to airports and such. And at that point, we identified the property in Luzerne County over in Whitehaven specifically. So we engaged the owners of that property who were looking to sell. We went through a very lengthy zoning process, about 8 months. That process ultimately came out in our favor. And then we started due diligence on the property. It's about 75 acres. There was existing buildings on that property. And when we started to get into some of the specifics of renovation and redevelopment on that property, the cost for renovations became pretty high, very exorbitant. And as always, we're looking for ways to reduce costs for families who place kids with us, because most of our families are paying out of their own pocket. And so as the costs continued to escalate, it put the project in jeopardy for us. At that point, we were introduced to the grant program that I'm here in front of you for. We felt this was an excellent opportunity to partner with the state of Pennsylvania in a way that is mutually beneficial. And so at that point, we engaged the application process, and we're looking for support, obviously, from the county as we move forward.
Questions for gentlemen? Sounds to me like you're purchasing a property. That's part of your?
Yeah, we did purchase the
Okay.
property. We own that property. It closed a little over a year ago.
Okay.
Yes.
And the assessment on that property?
2.2 million.
And you're not appealing that?
No.
Okay. Yes, Mr. Ross?
Hey, welcome to Wilkes-Barre. Thanks for your interest in Luzerne County, too. Did you happen to dialogue with the Foster Township supervisors about how they feel about the project? Or
Yes, we
why
do
didn't
have
they-
their support.
Okay, they do as well. All right, thank you. Mr. Chairman.
And how many potential jobs?
Yeah, so we anticipate a minimum of 100 full-time equivalents. We, again, anticipate, this is projections at this point, an average salary between $40,000 and $50,000 a year.
Okay. Other questions?
Was
Segment.
this real estate that you bought, was that previously owned by another company or someone else? It sounds
Yeah.
like a fairly large,
It was actually owned, it was privately held by a couple, and they had ran a corporate retreat center, a training center there. They had owned the property for about 35 years.
Yeah, I think I attended the conference center. It's a very nice piece of property.
Yes.
As far as the setting and some of the accessories that are available, things.
Yeah, we currently have 10 families from the state of Pennsylvania in our program in Missouri at this time.
when will you be up
Other-
and running, do you think?
Ideally, within the next 12 months,
Other questions?
Say what the future starting wages were for the 100 employees?
Between $40,000 and $50,000, Mr. Urban? Can you hear me?
Does that include benefits though? Or is that salary? Just
No, that is salary. You would add about 20% on for benefits.
No, he said that's salary only. He said benefits would be about another 20%.
Okay, all right.
Anyone else? Okay.
So it seems like a great use for the facility, given its history and everything like that. What are the drawbacks, sir, about this? Because you said some communities aren't in line with, you said you were looking for a favorable climate
Yeah.
regarding this type of.
Mostly that's around state
rehabilitation.
licensing requirements.
Okay.
In the private pay behavioral space, you have some states that are more favorable to what we do clinically. You have some that are not. They're very prescriptive in nature.
Okay.
We're currently, again, we focus specifically with early childhood trauma with an emphasis on adoption. So of my 135 students I have in Missouri, 95% of those kids are adopted. The classical diagnosis, you probably are familiar with something called reactive attachment disorder. That's pretty much gone away in the clinical field. That being said, a lot of states basically want to be very prescriptive in how that you're going to administer the clinical protocols. They're very prescriptive, right? Pennsylvania is not. So we're considered the leading experts in the country in what we do, specific with that diagnosis. So it was a very favorable environment for us to come here.
Well, it sounds like you're meeting a lot of needs, so thanks again for what you do. All right, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Any other questions? Okay. Proceed to roll call.
Ms. Howe?
Yes.
Mr. Kelleher?
Yes.
Mr. Perry?
Yes.
Ms. Sedman?
Yes.
Mr. Schnee?
Yes.
Mr. Urban?
Yes,
Mr. Vogt?
Yes.
Ms. Wakes?
Yes.
Mr. Haas?
Yes.
Mr. McGinley?
Yes.
Unanimous.
Thank you. Thank you for coming in. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Good luck with your efforts there to secure the grant and move on with the facility. Thank you. Moving down to number 3, a motion to adopt a resolution declaring a vacancy on the Luzerne County Children and Youth Advisory Board.
So
We
move,
have
Mr.
a
Chairman.
motion. Mr. Haas, do we have a second?
second.
Mr. Urban, on the question? Roll call, please.
Mr. Kelleher?
Yes.
Mr. Perry?
Yes.
Ms. Sedman?
Yes.
Mr. Schnee?
Yes.
Mr. Urban?
Yes.
Mr. Vogt?
Yes.
Ms. Wakes?
Yes.
Mr. Haas?
Yes.
Ms. Hauk?
Yes.
Mr. McGinley?
Yes.
Unanimous.
Thank you. Moving down to number 4, motion to adopt a resolution accepting the declination of appointment to Luzerne County Housing Authority and declaring a vacancy. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Mr. Schnee?
Second.
Segman? On the question? Roll call, please.
Mr. Perry?
Yes.
Ms. Sedman?
Yes.
Mr. Schnee?
Yes.
Mr. Urban? Mr. Vogt?
Yes.
Ms. Wakes?
Yes.
Mr. Haas?
Yes.
Ms. Hauk?
Yes.
Mr. Kelleher?
Yes.
Mr. McGinley?
Yes.
Unanimous.
Going down to number 5, just to appoint, this was a vacancy that we declared previously in our last meeting. This is not the vacancy that Mr. Sachs's resolution immediately above, so that's why we can fill it this evening. We have a motion to open up nominations.
So moved.
Mr. Kelleher. Do we have a second?
Second.
Ms. Saban. All in favor of opening nominations indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any in opposition? Any abstentions? None heard. So our first one is Luzerne County Housing Authority. Do we have a nomination?
Nominate Alan Injayeski.
Alan Injayeski, Mr. Kelleher. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second, Ms. Hauk.
Motion to close nominations.
Ms. Vogt
Second.
to close nominations, and Mr. Snee seconds that motion. All in favor of that indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any in opposition? Any abstentions? None heard. Motion carries. So we're going to go right to the resolution since we only have the one candidate. We have a motion to appoint Mr. Injayeski by resolution to the Luzerne County Housing Authority.
So moved.
Ms. Wakes, do we have a second?
Second.
Second.
Mr. Vogt or Mr. Kelleher?
Keller.
Mr. Kelleher? Roll call, please.
Ms. Sedman?
Yes.
Mr. Schnee?
Yes.
Mr. Urban?
Yes.
Mr. Vogt?
Yes.
Ms. Wakes?
Yes.
Mr. Haas?
Yes.
Ms. Hauk?
Yes.
Mr. Kelleher?
Yes.
Mr. Perry?
Yes.
Mr. McGinley?
Yes.
Unanimous.
Unanimous? What did Mr. Urban vote?
They said yes.
Mr. Urban, what did you vote on that resolution?
Yes. Yes.
Yes, thank you. Moving down to B, Luzerne County, Schuylkill County Workforce Investment Board. We have one term to be appointed this evening. We have one person on the eligibility list at this point. We have actually 3 openings besides this one that would be occurring this evening. We have a motion to open nominations.
So moved.
Mr. Keller, do we have a second?
Second.
Mr. Snee? Mr. Snee, all in favor of opening nominations indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any in opposition? Any abstentions? None heard. Nominations are now open.
I'll nominate Mr. Shabner.
Second.
Who's second? Mr. Vogt. Mr. Kelleher makes a nomination. Mr. Vogt makes a second. We have a motion to close nominations.
So moved.
Mr. Vogt?
Second.
Ms. Saban, all in favor of closing nominations indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any in opposition? Any abstentions? None heard. Motion carries. We now go to a resolution to appoint Mr. William Shabner.
Roll call on
Yes. Which? Close the nominations? No.
that? No, on Chapman.
Yes, we're going to do it now. We're on, resolution to appoint Mr. Shabner to the Luzerne Schuylkill County Workforce Investment Board. Roll call, please.
Mr. Schnee?
Yes.
Mr. Urban?
Yes.
Mr. Vogt?
Yes.
Ms. Wakes?
Yes.
Mr. Haas?
Yes.
Ms. Hauk?
Yes.
Mr. Kelleher?
Yes.
Mr. Perry?
Yes.
Ms. Sedman?
Yes.
Mr. McGinley?
Yes.
Unanimous.
Thank you. Just as a point of information, we have a interview scheduled for Thursday evening for people who would be interested in serving on the ABCs. Obviously, we have at least one opening on the Housing Authority, and we have several openings on the Workforce Investment Board. And there's one opening currently on the Elections Board for It has to be a Democrat by the charter. So anyone who would like to submit an application and participate in the interview, 6 o'clock on Thursday, correct, Mr. Keller? I think you have,
We have 18 new applications. We have 9 of them who have let us know that they'll be there at this point. So we could have more people who are interviewing.
Very
So we're
good.
very happy. And we wish to extend appreciation to Jennifer Andes and Eric Mark, because Jennifer put an article in the paper, I believe on Sunday, is it Jennifer, or Monday, your column? And then Eric Mark put an outstanding article in that's really helpful and informative to the people. The only bad part about the article I must criticize, Eric, is that you put my picture in there, and I think that would be maybe discouraging to some, but you did a wonderful job. Thank you.
okay. We're now down to number 6. Motion to adopt a resolution filling the vacancy of the elected position Luzerne County Council member. We'll conduct the resolution nomination just as we've conducted for the ABCs. Everybody's fine with that? So I request a motion to open up nominations.
So move.
Mr. Kelleher, do we have a second to that?
Second.
Ms. Wakes? All in favor of opening nominations indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposition, any abstentions? None heard. We're now open for nominations.
I nominate Elaine Curry.
Ms. Hauk nominates Elaine Curry. We have a second for Ms. Elaine Curry.
I'll make that second.
Mr. Haas? Okay. Any other nominations?
Yes, I nominate Patrick Bilbo.
Patrick Bilbo,
I'll second that.
Ms. Wakes, and Mr. Kelleher. Any other nominations?
I'll nominate Elaine Sorokas.
Eileen Sorokas, right?
Elaine, yes, correct.
Okay. Mr. Urban nominates Eileen Sorokas. Do we have a second?
I'll make the second.
Mr. Haas makes that second. Anyone else? We have 3 nominations. Are there any other nominations at this time? Do we have a motion to close nominations?
So move.
Mr. Kelleher? Do we have a second?
Second.
Mr. Perry to close nominations. All in favor of closing nominations indicate by saying aye. Aye. People in opposition? None heard. Any abstentions? None heard. Okay, we'll conduct the election now for the vacancy. We'll go by roll call, indicate the person that you're supporting. We have Ms. Curry, Mr. Bilbo, Ms. Sorokas. Roll call.
Mr. Urban.
Mrs. Sorokas.
Mr. Vogt.
Mr. Bilbo?
Ms. Wakes.
Mr. Bilbo.
Mr. Haas.
Mrs. Curry?
Ms. Hauk.
Curry.
Mr. Kelleher.
Mr. Bilbo.
Mr. Perry.
Mr. Bilbo.
Ms. Sedman.
Mr. Bilbo.
Mr. Schneek.
Bilbo.
Mr. McGinley.
Mr. Bilbo.
We have 7 for Mr. Bilbo.
7, 2, and 1. Okay. We now need a motion to adopt a resolution filling the vacancy for the elected position of Luzerne County Council member by Mr. Patrick Bilbo.
So move, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Haas makes the motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Kelleher. Roll call for the resolution to appoint Mr. Bilbo.
Mr. Vogt.
Yes.
Ms. Wakes.
Yes.
Mr. Haas.
Yes.
Ms. Hauk.
Yes.
Mr. Kelleher.
Yes.
Mr. Perry.
Yes.
Ms. Sedman.
Yes.
Mr. Schneek.
Yes.
Mr. Urban.
Yes.
Mr. McGinley.
Yes,
Unanimous.
thank you. And we're now down to public comment. Public comment from anyone in the public at this time. Okay, do we have a motion for adjournment?
So move.
Mr. Kelleher, do we have a second?
Second.
Mr. Perry? All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any in opposition, any abstentions? None heard. Thank you. We'll take a break till 7 o'clock to begin the work session. I think he is. I think the gentleman,
I don't see him.
maybe not. Maybe not. No.